I come to thinking about seasonal stuff through the lens of different generations. So I guess that's part of my background, is kind of children, youth and family stuff. And so part of the idea today was that and we know that Advent Christmas, the church often connects with people across generations and people from beyond the normal worshipping congregation that we don't often see. So for me, it's a really good opportunity, whatever the demographic of your congregation, to think more broadly about engaging different ages and stages of life. So, and I've got 5 things here. Entering the season, experiencing the story, exploring the spaces, evoking the senses, and enchanting the spirit. Did you like all those E's?
Sounds good. Yeah.
That I came up with. We come out of ordinary time in the lectionary into these seasonal times, and so we know that Advent is a season of preparation, and so it's not just about kind of jumping into Christmas, but how do we treat Advent itself as some kind of entry, if you like. Secondly, for me, I think that the seasonal times, and particularly Lent, Easter, Advent, Christmas, are about narrative. They're about story. John Westhoff says we're a story-formed people, and so I think it's more about story than theme, and it's more about story than explanation and whatever else. So I always want to approach Advent Christmas through the lens of story, and I actually don't want to let the lectionary take that over. So I'd rather find some sense in the story than be ruled by the lectionary or by themes. So we'll talk about themes today, but this is not a story to be explained, it's a story to be lived. The third one is that stories, exploring the spaces, means that stories have movement. They've got places and spaces, they've got journeys, they've got towns, they've got times. So you can't think about narrative without thinking about that stuff too, the movement in the story, place, space, and the movement that happens over time. And Advent Christmas are really, really good for that, and of course so is Lent and Easter. I think of evoking the senses. I've come to approach worship as being multi-sensory, and so I used to talk about multimedia, but now I talk about multi-sensory. So I always want to think about a sensory way of experiencing the narrative. And the last one is, Advent and Christmas are about wonder. There's a dimension of enchantment, is the E word that I come up with. How do we help people to pause and wonder and be delighted and be expectant and be hopeful and all that kind of stuff, which is much more, it's less about explanation and more about evoking. And so the sensory stuff, the enchantment stuff, the story stuff, all that kind of stuff is kind of the lenses through which I come to this kind of stuff. So I want to ask that we think about that as we go through. And we also today want to think about, we're using the language of blended faith formation here. I know people have been using other language. I got this from John Roberto a while ago from a couple of his books. So this is not just about worship service on a Sunday, because we can engage people in a whole lot of other ways through the season. So blended faith formation means in different settings and how those kind of fit together. So what do we offer people at home this time? What do we offer on the church premises, which might be inside or outside? What's online that's synchronous, which means stuff that happens at the same time. So what we're doing here is synchronous. What's asynchronous? So you can access it 24/7. So your church website is asynchronous. People can go there anytime they like. And there's many other ways to do asynchronous online. And what are both the settings and the times in the wider community that we might connect and engage with people in terms of Advent and Christmas? So that's kind of the frame, the two frames we bring to this, I guess, and I want to invite us to do some brainstorming around that in a bit. I want to begin with just a brief reflection thing. So seasonal times are liminal times, and liminal means kind of going to the edge. It's the thin places, it's the places where the unexpected happens, or the things that we expect and hope for suddenly or somehow become more real. This is a photo from Interactive Christmas at Rosefield Uniting Church, and on Thursday night I'm going to mainly show you stuff from Interactive Christmas. So I was part of starting it and ran it for 5 years, and you'll see Mark and Lucy there, and for 3 of the 5 years they gave us a baby for Christmas. They got 5 kids, and 3 of their 5 girls have been the baby Jesus. And they didn't even go to our church. I just knew them. I put out a thing on Facebook that said, anybody having a baby? And Lucy said, well, actually, we're having a baby. And I said, well, would your baby like to come and be the baby Jesus? And then the next year I joked, no, sorry, there was a break. It wasn't the next year, the year after. But I jokingly said, oh, you get another baby. I said the following year, no. The next year, well, actually we do. Anyway, so this is the last baby, which is... I've forgotten their names, Baby Jesus 3, all girls. And at the end of our Interactive Christmas journey, we had a live nativity, and the sense of, and this is a kind of a small little room that's blacked out, and you'll see that stars and fairy lights. The sense of wonder that the people who came into that small room with was just palpable, and there was something liminal about that space, which was not just about having a baby in the room. It was actually about a sense that, God is birthed and present among us. So that's my image of liminality, and I'll show you a whole bunch more photos on Thursday. So let me offer you a liminal prayer. So from Jan Richardson's wonderful book, Circle of Grace, which I've been using over recent weeks. And so liminality is about being surprised, and a number of the Advent readings are about apocalypse. They're about disruption in time and history. They're about change. And if you know me well, I'm not a morning person. And when I was in Queensland, in hotel quarantine for 2 weeks, there were a few occasions in which I was rudely awoken in the morning. And sometimes it was for good reasons, and sometimes it was for not very pleasant reasons. And I thought of that when I came across this Advent reflection from Jan Richardson. So her daily reflections basically go from Advent through to Easter and beyond. And I think they're thoroughly amazing. So this is her coming off Mark 13:37. This blessing could pound on your door in the middle of the night. This blessing could bang on your window, could tap dance in your hall, could set a dog loose in your room. It could hire a brass band to play outside your house. But what this blessing really wants is not merely your waking, but your company. This blessing wants to sit alongside you and keep vigil with you. This blessing wishes to wait with you. And so, though it is capable of causing a cacophony that could raise the dead, this blessing will simply lean towards you and sing quietly in your ear. A song to lull you not into sleep, but into waking. It will tell you stories and hold you breathless till end. It will ask you questions you have never considered, and have you tell it what you saw in your dreaming. This blessing will do all within its power to entice you into awareness, because it wants to be there, to bear witness, to see the look in your eyes on the day when your vigil is complete and all your waiting has come to its joyous end. I love that invitation to wait and hope and listen, and it speaks to me of this journey of stepping into a liminal space. So that's from Jan Richardson's book, Circle of Grace. I would buy everybody a copy if I could. This is an aside, but some of you know I went to Brisbane because my brother was dying, and he died while I was there. And while I was in hotel quarantine, I started reading reflections from this book on the day of Ash Wednesday, because I knew I needed something for wilderness. And it was totally the kind of the strange blessings that I needed for a strange time. So I thoroughly commend it to you for that. And we've actually been using the Advent stuff with our mission pilot groups because it's about a journey into the unknown. So I want to recommend that. I want to offer you one other piece before we do some interactive stuff. So Lee Newton's a South Australian songwriter. He's a Lutheran that's been kind of adopted by the Uniting Church. This is a song that he co-wrote with his wife, Tanya Whitwer, who did some stuff for us a few weeks ago, called We'd Seen the Star. And on the webpage that I put up next week, I'll have links to this stuff. So I filmed this with Lee at a National Songwriters Conference. The link's got a link to his website where the music's there as well. So this is for you to enjoy.
We had seen the star, we had read the signs when we went back through the ancient scrolls, and they seemed to say that a star would rise on a king as prophets had foretold. And the star it beckoned westward in the heavens. Come and follow, come and find the baby boy, who will heal the rift dividing all the nations, who will one day turn your tears to joy. Would they welcome us? Would they turn away when we came in search of dreams unknown? In this foreign land, would we lose our lives before the chance of going home? Had we seen the start of something more important? Is this folly? Is this wisdom? I don't know. Are there others who now follow and come after, who are out there on that dusty road? There was gold for wealth to rule this broken place, this warring world. There was frankincense to fill the priestly roll. There was honesty and myrrh enough for all that lay ahead, but our hearts were full of hope untold. Yes, our hearts were full of hope untold. When we found the place, God forgive us all for the lonely state in which He lay. Just a tiny house, and the little child was lying on a sheaf of hay. Was the boy another king from distant Israel? Seems the stars said something more had happened here. And they told us of the livestock and the manger, where the babe was wrapped to calm his fears. There was gold for wealth to rule this broken place, this warring world. There was frankincense to fill the priestly roll. There was honesty and myrrh enough for all that lay ahead, but our hearts were full of hope untold. Yes, our hearts were full of hope untold. We had seen the star, we had read the signs, and we went back through the ancient scrolls. And they seemed to say that a star would rise on a king as prophets had foretold. And the star it beckoned westward in the heavens. Come and follow, come and find the baby boy, Who will heal the rift dividing all the nations? Who will one day turn your tears to joy? Who will heal the rift dividing all the nations? Who will one day make your tears your joy?
Go to Lee's website. So Lee's also written two books and albums of Australian Christmas songs. So one's called Christmas in the Scrub and one's called Christmas in the Shed. And when I was doing supply at Blackwood before I came over here, so Christmas before last, we did a Christmas Eve, Christmas in the Shed, Australian Christmas, put together a band and an all-age Christmas Eve evening, and thought, let's invite Lee to come and be the lead singer, which he agreed to do. And so on the blog, I've got a description of what we did with the music, what we did with the setting, what we did with involving all ages and stuff like that. So I'll put that on the link as well. But for me, that's just a delightful invitation into a journey, actually. It's a journeying song. So we're going to, for the next few minutes, we're going to throw Advent Christmas around among us. And I want to invite us to think about, so just park the lectionary over there. We can talk about the lectionary, that's fine. But there are, we know the texts, we know the Old Testament texts and the gospel texts particularly that are used in this time of year. So I want to invite us together to brainstorm what are some of the key texts and stories that we would come across in this time. What are some of the themes that they raise for us? And then what are some of the symbols that are present in those, and what's some of the sensory stuff that comes to mind? So there are no right or wrong answers. Some of you will have thought about this. Some of you will not have thought about this. And I'm just going to type in our ideas, and then we're going to take them a bit further as we go on. So let's think about some of the key texts or stories that are part of this time.
The various texts from Isaiah.
Okay, that sounds like James. Give us one.
It is indeed. So Isaiah 40, comfort, oh, comfort my people, says your God.
Yeah, okay. Yep, Isaiah 9. People walking in darkness have seen a great light.
Great light, yep.
Walking. Yeah, what are some others?
The Word made flesh.
Okay, John 1. Word made flesh, incarnation. Yep.
The promise to Mary.
Okay, so we've got the Annunciation.
Luke 2.
Luke 2. So promise. What other themes are in Luke 2? There's a few.
Hope.
Hope, trust, gift.
Justice.
Justice, yeah, heck yeah. Sorry, yep. And we could go on. What else? So we think, sorry?
Emmanuel, God with us.
Emmanuel, thank you. So we can put that here, Hannah. And also, yeah, and also it's part of John 1 as well, of course, but named in Luke, yes. And also some, references back in Isaiah too.
Craig, one of the things that I've done over the last few years is use the narrative lectionary, which doesn't stick to the normal themes.
Yeah.
This year we're talking about important births leading up to the birth of Jesus. So we're looking at Samuels and Judges and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Samuel, Judges.
Judges?
Hannah, we've got Hannah in there too.
Yes. Elizabeth.
Mary,
all of that sort of stuff.
And what kind of themes?
We've got it, but it's mainly that it's...
Anyone can throw them in.
Yeah, well, we've got births, so that's what we're looking at.
Birth is a theme.
Yeah, birth.
New birth. Birth and new birth, yep.
Yeah.
But then you could say expectancy, getting ready.
Oh, what happened there? I lost it. Yep. Preparation, anxiety,
Waiting.
Anticipation.
anticipation.
Waiting.
Yep. Waiting. Yep. Okay, keep going. So let's think about the Christmas story too, not just Advent.
Matthew 1 and 2.
Yep, whole lot of stuff. So 50 themes in there. Elizabeth, what?
Probably Emmanuel, which isn't actually Luke, it's Matthew.
Oh, sorry. You know, they're all the same to me.
Emmanuel, and also prophecy.
Prophecy. Yep. The whole genealogy thing's pretty interesting, isn't it?
Yep.
Who is this guy? And you know which prophecy? Yep.
On this question of birth, you've got Luke 1, where the visitor visits Mary. So the expectation, the wonder of what's going to happen.
I'm going to put that up here, Luke 1 and 2. Yep, yep. Any other Old Testament stuff that you tend to draw on? You know,
maybe Psalm 89, you know, when I was seeing of the Lord's great love forever.
So is that 89, was it, Matt?
Yeah. So it's kind of looking, you know, establishing like a pattern for the future and
okay.
And just prophecy fulfilled.
Yeah.
I suppose we then have like 700 verses that we could go with.
Well, we can. I'm just picking out a few here to work with.
Sorry. You're welcome. We need a bigger table.
Yeah, I can add rows to the table. I just wanted to spend a few minutes kicking around. So what about some of the other gospel texts as we work through the Christmas story? So let's think narrative stories, not just texts, okay? It doesn't matter if you can't.
So I'm going back to the Old Testament, Isaiah 64.
Yeah.
This whole sense of looking at the destroyed temple and that appeal to God to come and act and do something.
Okay. Yeah. So there's a whole restoration thing, isn't there? You know, the prophetic stuff.
Yeah, and how God, that leads into how the response of God to that leading us into Christmas.
And there's also, and we haven't quite talked about this, there's the prophetic stuff around, you know, restoration around this vision of a renewed society, you know. So think of all the stuff in Isaiah particularly.
I was going to suggest the journey to like Bethlehem is it's a journey story. So
totally.
The census.
Yep.
And the calling of the census, I guess, in that.
Okay, yep. So what do you want to? So what are some of the themes in that, Nicole?
Journey,
traveling. We just use a different word, so it sounds like we've thought of something new.
And the journey of the
adventure.
Magi.
Oh yes, okay. Well, let's put the Magi in there too. Yeah. So unpack the journey thing a bit. Adventure. Well, look, come on. There's discomfort in the journey.
Following the signs.
Yep. So there's following signs.
Look, we can have government and institutional powers with journey.
Oh, thank you.
I was going to say obligation.
And that's in, like, I'm putting these together. I'm not going to repeat them both. Obligation. Okay. For up here. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. For the census.
Yeah. The establishment.
Yep. So there's also interesting stuff around hospitality. I guess that's more at the other end. Let's hold that for now.
So John the Baptist, that whole John the Baptist preparing the way, there's a whole lot of themes around quite a number of readings.
Yeah. Okay,
focused on John the Baptist.
Okay, that's fine. Yep, we fill up. Yep. I couldn't say that is. It sounds like it could be Ian, but I could be wrong. One of the Ians.
That was Robert.
Yeah.
Sorry, Robert. Oh, it is that Robert. Okay. I'm trying to pick voices. I'm sort of trying to pick voices.
Sorry.
Hearing it. No, Robert, I can recognise your voice now. I just can't see.
I was probably sitting back a bit, but yeah, all around the preparation. What are we preparing for? What?
Yeah.
That sense and John the Baptist. Some of those themes. Yeah.
Now I want to keep us. Thank you, Robert. I want to keep us moving. Let's. We're not going to fill in all these because we'll be here forever. But if we think about symbols, and what I mean is, like, I guess for me, and it works both multi-age, and I think it actually helps culturally too, to give people some symbols to hang things on. And the challenge is to do that in a way that's not tacky, but things that we can see, touch, hold, whatever. What are some symbols here? So there's a symbol here. People walking in darkness have seen a great light. There's a symbol of light, and there are symbols around journey, which can be whether it's feet or luggage or let me just put feet there for now. You get the idea? What are some symbols that come to mind with this stuff? The Magi, there's a symbol of gifts later on.
Star.
Where'd you put the star?
With the Magi.
Oh, yes, sorry. Of course. I knew that. In fact, you'll see some more stars in the next half hour. I just momentarily,
Obviously, Craig, we need camels if we're going to.
Beasts of transport. Okay, let's leave the Magi and go somewhere else.
Well, actually, animals in itself is a symbol. I don't know where you'd put it on that list, but.
Well, let's work from the stories and kind of.
All right, I'll fit it in. Give me a moment.
Luke 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
Luke 2.
Put it there.
So I guess I want to say that's fine. Let's keep going. At some point, we want iconic symbols. Okay. We want something. We want to be able to attach meaning to them.
Well, the Isaiah 64 broken buildings.
Yeah. So symbols don't just have to be
broken walls.
Hopeful symbols or holes. Whoops, sorry. Oh, it keeps disappearing on me.
Ruins. That's what comes to mind for me on that one.
Yeah.
A symbol would be babies with the birth.
Sure. Where am I here? Babies.
And women.
And women.
Yes. Don't forget the halos.
Symbolic women.
That's outrageous.
And okay, so I'm going to put angels up here or messengers.
A bit challenging that, Nicole, putting women in. Gosh.
Are shepherd symbols?
Oh, look, if you like.
John the Baptist.
Hang on, where am I
women
putting
are shepherds.
where am I putting the shepherds, folks? Where would you like
Luke
them to
1
be?
and 2.
Thank you.
That's our space we go for others that don't fit. Luke 1 and 2.
Yeah.
John the Baptist roads, the smoothing of the way.
Yeah.
And that would fit on Nicole's journey as well.
Yes, it would. And I'm just going to find out where I put that here. Roads. And something just said we could put under John 1. What can we put there? Light. Is it light image in John 1?
No.
What are some other? So let's that's enough time on that. We could put a whole bunch of symbols, but I guess what I'm saying here is symbols come into the sensory thing. So how do we connect the physical, if you like, and the spiritual? Well, we do it through sign, symbol, and ultimately sacrament. So
I do a search.
When we think about sensory explorations of some of these texts, what else kind of comes to us? And senses, sight, touch, sound, hearing, taste, bodily
That's not what I wanted.
experience, feeling stuff.
What about food?
Absolutely. So what food comes to mind for these stories?
Some of the bitter herbs.
Okay, which story would that be?
I'd be going down to some of the prophetic stuff.
Yeah, okay. Is there a particular one here? Look, I won't do the row thing. I'll do the columns thing. So I'm just going to put them down here. What other sense? So obviously sight, goes with light. There's, a sensory thing.
With the energy, there's the fragrance of the oil.
Okay, yep. So there are a few places in these stories where, and the Magi is one in particular. It's not the only place here. There's.
When we did the Word Made Flesh a few years back, Craig, we talked about Scrabble tiles, newspapers, anything with words.
Yes, yep. Okay, so words are things that we can see and play with.
But flesh is something that we can touch.
We can touch words too and play with them. Yes, so flesh, body. There's heaps of body stuff here. Not all good.
Sound. Isaiah.
Someone just said sound. What kind of sounds are there here?
Sounds of animals. Sounds of babies crying.
Singing of angels and different people.
Yep. There are the sounds of travelling. Walking feet, trudging. Yep.
Coconuts.
Shaking. Tillich's shaking of the foundation seems to be probably this year more than the end of a year where we've, very core of what life has been changed and shaking of the foundation. So there's all the bodily things around fear, shaking, trembling.
Yeah.
Some of that.
That's a really interesting one.
The noise of ruins and destruction and so forth. So there's noises associated with that.
There's a seeing. Thank you, Robert. There's a seeing as seeking kind of thing here too. Looking for something, looking in the darkness for light, or stumbling in the dark, or
sense of it.
Yep. There's some bodily stuff around waiting too, isn't there? Time, waiting and time, and we know it from COVID.
Sound of a clock ticking.
Yes, yeah, that's good.
Patience.
The whole Advent thing of waiting for something to be over.
Yep.
It's totally COVID, isn't it?
Yep.
1000% COVID. Yeah.
Watching the numbers every day. What's the numbers going to be today?
Yeah, so it's waiting. There's a watching there too.
A bit of sight thing might be an egg timer with sound running through the funnel.
Yeah, so like sands in the hourglass. Okay, we've done plenty there. That's great. Let's keep going. So here's another video clip, unrelated to almost anything we've just done, but I wanted to throw a couple of things in. So one of the best curriculum producers that I know is Spark House, which are an American kind of Lutheran. Well, they came out of the Lutheran Church, and they do a series which I've used a lot in all age settings called Holy Moly, and it's cartoon based. So I've used it particularly in settings with kind of primary school age and parents, grandparents, but and some of them they've got free on YouTube, so you can look at the samples, and thankfully they're kind of Easter, Christmas stuff. And one of the things I like about it is they've decided to not use English language. Instead, that the characters make sounds as if they're talking, because they wanted to make it language independent. And they've actually got a little video where they talk about how or why they did that, so that people aren't trying to interpret another language if their first language isn't English. They're kind of getting the gist of the story from the action, which means you need to kind of unpack the story. Anyway, this is the Annunciation from Holy Moly.
Johnny.
Oh. Sorry.
Huh? The flima?
Oh. Asabab.
Oh.
Oh.
Hala!
And of course, there's more to the story. That's the first bit. Look, I know I could see from your faces how much you enjoyed that. Holy Moly. So that's the style. Like this, there are many. There are many Advent Nativity videos available, and I'll provide you a link to some of them. And we'll talk about making your own. We can talk about making our own as well, I guess. So that's Holy Moly, and if you want to, you could just go to YouTube and search on their channel is called We Are Sparkhouse, and they've got they also do a couple of fantastic series for adults about exploring faith stuff. So back here we talked about symbols, and I've chosen for the next bit that we might think about stars as a symbol. Okay. So I could have picked anything, but I just picked stars. What are so one of in Advent Christmas we mentioned a couple. Where do stars feature?
in the night sky.
Yeah, that's true, Nicole. And what particular
With the,
narratives?
with the shepherds and with the
Magi.
Magi.
Yeah. Anywhere else? That's a good start.
Abraham, his vision of the night sky and all his descendants, which obviously includes the birth of Jesus.
Yes, yep. So there's something running through there, yep.
That's what I was saying with the night sky.
Right, thank you. We can go with those. Let's go with those. So when you think about these narratives and the kinds of theme, what kind of themes come with that? And we talked about some of these themes before. So we talked about
prophecy.
Yep. So you've got the prophecy thing in relation to Abraham and whatever that might mean. Prophecy and promise. There's promise in that too.
Journey.
We talked about journey. We talked about following the Magi, following the star. Yep.
Expectations.
Yep. What are we expecting? What are we hoping for? There's also a theme of light in darkness, isn't there?
Yep. And cosmic change.
Yep. So, and there's a theme, light in darkness. It's also a theme of revelation in that too. Pretty obviously.
That theme of liminal space.
Okay. So yeah. So the whole thing of being out on the night sky, looking up, going, oh gosh, it's totally about liminal space, and then suddenly there are angels there. What music comes to mind when you think about this? So I think about Yellow by Coldplay.
I'm so glad you went there because I went straight to Shine Jesus Shine. So
look at the stars, see how they shine for you. Shine Jesus Shine.
Yeah, I went Stars by Switchfoot, so
much better option.
What other songs? What are some star songs, folks?
Star Child by Shirley Murray.
Star Child, yep. Top of the list, if you want that kind of thing.
I was thinking of, I can't think of the name of the song. Some of you more intellectual people will think of it, but in Les Miserables, the show, there's something about the stars looking down.
Yeah, this song's called Stars.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Yeah. Sorry, Hannah.
And Fernando Abba. Do you see the stars tonight, Fernando? Or was that the drums tonight? Can you hear the drums?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure that stars, Duncan.
No, it's actually drums. Yeah.
Okay, we've got a few songs, and part of the point here is that we've actually got some contemporary, some popular songs and some churchy songs and some different variety there. That's all right. So when you think about stars as a symbol, what can you do with stars as a symbol? Like, and so let me give you one. So I'm renowned. In fact, I went to the shed yesterday getting out Christmas stuff for Thursday night. We have so many fairy lights in our shed that are from me making, and you saw a glimpse of them in that earlier nativity thing with the baby, from me making night skies out of fairy lights wherever. So when I think stars, I think fairy lights every time.
Big sparklers.
Sparklers.
Great.
Glow in the dark stars.
Yeah. What is there a particular kind, Nicole?
Well,
Like sticky one.
The ones that I've stuck on my bedroom wall since
Okay, I'm with you now.
child.
Yeah, I'm with you now. Okay, yeah, totally.
I don't know, they're in my roof. In my childhood
the glow.
bedroom.
Yes, I know.
On the
yes.
ceiling.
The whole constellation on the ceiling that you got to pull off at one stage when.
No, you don't pull them off ever.
you can just
stars
make
on the Christmas tree.
Christmas tree. Yeah. So I'm a collector of stuff like this. So we have lots of you know, well, Christmas decoration stars. And I won't get them now. I'll show you on Thursday.
Constellations, Craig.
Yep. So, and yes, and in fact, one of the things I thought of with this was the NASA photos.
And also then have a telescope as well.
Telescope, seeing stars. Yep.
What about constancy?
Just going back a step, we were talking about glow sticks. So handing out glow sticks as a time of light.
So constancy, I want to put that somehow. I want to put that. I want to put that down in the theme column for now.
That'll do. I'm thinking of the fact that we talk about the stars being there at night, but they're there all day as well.
So I'm trying to type. Thanks, Nish. So.
What about candles?
Yes. So light territory. We can put candles there too. I want to stop here and probably move ahead. Now let's just briefly do these. So an obvious senses one is eyes, you know, seeing. I'm typing in public always gets me. Eyes, seeing, dark and light. But I suspect if we spend a bit more time on that, we could actually think of expand on that maybe, you know. So there's the stuff about, if you want to expand on that, someone said about seeing stars in the daytime. You know, when you go outside at night, your eyes need to adjust to see the stars. When you go to the outback, you see the stars more clearly than when you're in the city. You know, there's probably some stuff, you know, when you get a telescope, you see the stars more closely. There are times when there's something on in the night sky that happens once every 40 years, and we're all outside at 4 a.m. looking at it or looking for it. So there's some stuff around senses and how we behave that's a bit more than, you know, just light and dark or just seeing or not seeing. There's even the sensory stuff of who gets to put the star on the top of the Christmas tree. And in our place, it was picking up the youngest child, and they get to put the star on top of the Christmas tree. You know, there's some bunch of stuff around that. And then if we went to spaces, so, you know, so we talked before about home, the church building. So I can guarantee that if she wants to, Chris will put stars or something all over the outside of a church somewhere. Of course, that's what Joe does.
In the senses, Craig, would you include silence in waiting? You're waiting in silence in the darkness, and you've just got the stars there, and you're waiting.
Yes. So I think part of the bodily thing I was trying to say before was that time and body go together. So you know, waiting is a time and body thing, and I was talking about waiting to be able to see as part of that as well.
Is there a sense of wonder when you see the stars?
Yeah, there is. I was probably talking here more about physical senses, but I think we could, you know, if you want to say senses includes feelings, then because we interpret our senses, so we could certainly say wonder is a part of that.
I'd say silence. Silence needs to go onto the list. I think that's a.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. We're just expanding it.
And Craig, you see the stars more clearly in the outback because there are no competing lights.
Yeah, so that's right. Other lights or competing lights. So when you start thinking about senses, what we've actually started to do is we've actually started to play out our theme as well. So we haven't just started talking about what we can see, touch, taste, feel here, but it starts to play into themes. And so we could actually start, oh gosh. We could start to think about what do stars look like when we start to think about how they might be, you know, played out in different places.
Craig, in spaces, can you also help us to think about together and alone?
Yeah, so that was actually my next table, Anna. So and that's part of this space thing too, is gathered versus. So it's not just it's not just places. It's actually could be solitude and it could be with company, or together alone. Yep.
Interesting, the idea of light pollution and how, you know, artificial light makes it so hard to see the real stars.
Yep.
And I guess the idea of true light and fake light.
We've got you know, real versus artificial. They're both real, but yep. So let's keep whole bunch of stuff there. You know, symbols are multivalent, which means they've got more than one possible meaning, and that's the value of a symbol, that you can use symbols to convey more than one thing, but also people can read more than one meaning into them if they wish. And in contemplating a symbol, the multiple meanings in it opens possibilities for people's reflection, for their interpretation, and, you know, for what it means for them in their lives. And so to provide people with a symbol, not just in a moment, but over time, allows them to reflect on that meaning. And you can actually give people a symbol, and as you tell the story over time, you actually add meaning to that symbol. Does that make sense? So you don't want to use a symbol in a way that's a one-dimensional illustration. You want to use it in a way that's a multi-dimensional symbol. So that's the difference between a sign and a symbol, is that one can be very flat and the other is more rounded in what it can say to you. So how do you use a symbol to evoke something rather than explain something? That's the key in this bit. So when I talk about interactive Christmas on Thursday, one of the things we did at the end of Interactive Christmas each year was give people something to take home. And I'm going to show you two of those, and they're both stars. So this star was laser cut. I was designed by one of our daughters who's an artist. And so she designed this on a computer. We went to a laser cutter. They cost us about $2.50 each. And every family got one of those stars to take home and hang on their Christmas tree. Now, that's unique. They can't buy it. Came from Rosefield Uniting Church. Every time they see it, they're going to remember Rosefield Uniting Church, and it was a gift. And it came with a take-home prayer that was this, because we wanted them to do something together around the star. So we gave them a blessing to take home. This was on a laminated strip of paper that they got before they went out the last room. So the last room was where the baby Jesus was. Literally, the baby Esther, whatever her name was at the time. May stars shine upon us with the light of God's way. May angels surprise us with the song of God's peace. May the humble seek us with the news of God's hope. May wise ones visit us with the gift of God's joy. May the Christ child embrace us with the warmth of God's love. Now, they may or may not have read that around the Christmas table, at meal table at Christmas, but there was a gift and an opportunity to do that with the star. Okay, take home stuff. So look, it's turned 11 o'clock. I've got 20 more things. So I'm going to skip ahead. So what we could now do, and we started doing it back here in this right-hand part, was to think, okay, how does this stuff play out in different settings? Okay, so if we want to take a theme, a story, a set of stories, a theme and a multivalent symbol, then what do we do that? Well, you know, we start putting stars on the church building and they build up over time, and maybe they glow at night, I don't know. You know, we send stars home. We give people stars that they can make it home or make it home. So we give people stuff that they can make and do. This is a daily Advent cartoon calendar, and it's got a lot of stars in it. It's by an English guy, Smith, and I could email people a photo every day that takes them through Advent with kind of cartoons that work across ages. Of course, you could use more classical art too if you wanted to do that. So Cy Smith's got this, he's got a comic book. He's done the same thing as similar style as a daily Advent calendar. And he's also, with it, got stuff you could make at home. So you can make your own little star there, and you can make other characters and things like that. And this is some of his images from his daily Advent calendar. And you'll see the star keeps popping up through here. And, you know, you buy that for a couple of bucks at Proust, a couple of English pounds or euros at proust.co.uk by going there and searching on Cy Smith. And I've used his stuff quite a bit. You've all heard about Blue Christmas. So one thing I did at Interactive Christmas one year, and then we also did at I mentioned the Christmas in the Shed thing at Blackwood, was I bought a whole bunch of these stars at it's the site, it's teaching.com.au. I've got the link for you. And I spray painted them blue in the garage. And then one of the prayer stations at Interactive Christmas was a blue star, and this was part of the prayer station. There was more to it. Blue stars reminder that Christmas is not a happy time for everyone. And it talked about that and said, take one home. And people could take one or they could leave it. And then at the Blackwood one, where it was, you know, this kind of big musical thing, we gave everybody a star. And so I said at the time, you might have heard about Blue Christmas when some churches remember that it's a tough time for people. So we want to give you a blue star to take home tonight and hang on your Christmas tree. So that when you see it, you might remember tonight, but more importantly, you might remember that some people are doing a tougher Christmas. And I gave some examples, and you might do some things, and you know some of these people because they're friends and family and stuff like that. You might bake them a meal, you might give them a phone call, you might send them a card. And I also said, and we have a thing here called the Christmas Bowl, where we provide for people overseas who are doing a tougher Christmas. So what happens there is, firstly, people get a symbol from the local church to take home. Okay, so it's actually a reminder of us. It's a reminder of that time they spent with us. Secondly, they hang it on their Christmas tree, hopefully. Now, a blue star on a Christmas tree stands out, does it not? And so not only does it stand out for you, it stands out for the people who come over to your place and they go, why have you got a blue star on your tree? Oh, well, let me tell you. Well, we went to this Christmas in the Shed thing at Blackwood Uniting Church and And yeah, but why is it blue? Well, it's because some people do a tougher Christmas. So it's not only a connection to that family and a reminder and something that might actually go back into the Christmas decorations every year and come out every year, but it's also got a story to tell about Christmas and expanding Christmas kind of stuff. Get the idea? So it's actually, I'm trying to do a bunch of different things in that, whole bunch of different things. We could have done more. We could have talked about story cubes. I haven't given you much chance to share ideas. We can talk about take-home packs, etc., etc. Hopefully, I invited some people to come along and share ideas. Hope you haven't given you any time at all, folks. It just, look, it is what it is. We could spend hours on this, but I wanted to start some stuff. And the idea being that in the next few weeks, we want to help across the Presbytery share ideas for ways that things can be done at home, things can be done outside your premises, things can be done online, and possibly done in the building.
Craig, I'm wondering if we can open up a conversation on Facebook, on the Facebook page, or
yeah, that'd be a good place to do that, where we can make it a bit more interactive than we have been able to today. So this is something I wrote for the upper room in one of their devotional things for young people. I could say it's in my forthcoming worship book, but that would be advertising. But it's true. And I invite you to say the response in italic, okay? Loving God, some of us are like Zechariah, not believing that you would choose to bless us. Some of us are like Mary, surprised and humbled by the gift of new life. Some of us are like Joseph, needing reassurance and faith for the way ahead. Some of us are like Elizabeth, supporting others as they begin the journey. Some of us are like the shepherds, unsure whether your presence is real or a dream. Some are like the angels, eager to tell others your good news. Some are like the innkeeper, not yet realising how special you are. Some are like the wise men, kneeling in wonder and worship. Wherever we are in our journey of faith, remind us that your plans lie before us. Help us to grow tall in your love and light, so that we may stand strong and gentle for you in our. Amen.